Hello, and welcome to another episode of Under a Rock with Brielle and Guerlain. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite movies from childhood. I feel like I start every episode like that. I had a lot of favorite movies. The Aristocats, the
Yeah,
Disney movie, which I was surprised you'd never seen before.
there's a lot of old Disney stuff that
Yeah,
I just didn't know about. Like I know of it,
yeah.
when I pulled it up and I started watching it, I saw the characters. I was like, oh, I know this, but I just never watched it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you can't really exist in the Western world if you without knowing Disney. I
Right.
feel like it's such a part of our lives. Even if you're not like a cartoon lover or anything, I feel like everybody just knows about Disney. It's saturated
Yeah.
so much so. I mean, they own everything.
Basically,
We got to be careful what we say though, or else the Disney snipers are going to come for us.
slowly taking over.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so this movie I I don't remember the first time I ever watched this movie because I feel like I was always watching this movie. Like I don't have a specific like oh, I was this years old at this place like I did for Labyrinth or Muppets Take Manhattan. I just always watched this movie and ever since I was very very little. And yeah, so I mean it's such like a part of my DNA.
Hmm.
Like my college admissions essay was about well, not about the Aristocats, but it like mentioned the Aristocats.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got into college, so I guess it worked.
Yeah, it did something.
So overall, what did you think?
I I enjoyed it.
Good.
Um, I thought it was a very safe movie, and by safe, I don't, and that's not even an insult or anything. Just when we were introduced to, I'm jumping ahead. When we were introduced to Thomas,
Yeah.
I initially thought, oh, he has a underlining motive,
Right.
but no, he was just straightforward with them the entire time, and
Yeah, he's a good guy.
he is a good guy. I
Yeah.
really like that. But
Well, because Edgar is the villain of the movie.
right,
And Disney doesn't necessarily do secondary antagonists.
mm.
I mean, maybe now they do, but back then in 1970, they didn't do that. Like,
But what? See, that's what I'm used to. I'm used to a
really
secondary antagonist,
a twist, basically. Yeah.
basically.
I mean, that's fair. But yeah, this was way before Disney started to think about doing that. And,
Hmm.
you know, yeah, so basically the Aristocats at its very core is a very simple movie. Like you said, it is safe. I mean, there's nothing too the stakes aren't that high when you really think about it, but
Hmm.
basically there's this older woman who lives in Paris. She's very very wealthy and she makes her will, and in her will she leaves all of her assets and money to her cats, and then when the cats die, all that money and all those assets will go to her butler Edgar. And Edgar, who overhears this, is like, oh well, I have to get rid of the cats so that it can all go to me. And that's the whole like plot, basically.
Right.
Him getting rid of the cats and the cats coming back. Like that's the whole thing.
With when he started conniving the scheme to
Yeah.
get rid of the cats, in my head, I'm like, well, the cats are not gonna take care of themselves. Like you could still be a part of it.
Yeah, like
you know?
that's the thing that's so funny to me, and I think that's what makes Edgar, I think, such a funny villain is because he's so stupid. Like they're cats, bro. Like that, like listen, I love cats. I do. I love cats. But like you can just put them in a room. They're not going to go anywhere. Like all you
Yeah.
have to do is feed them and make sure they have like a litter box or whatever. Like because I don't know this for sure because I'm not a lawyer. I don't have any legal experience. But while it is legal to bequeath things to animals, like people do that all the time, crazy rich people do it all the time. Like there was this woman years ago who like she had like billions of dollars. She gave it to her dog, whatever. She's an idiot.
Yeah.
Listen, listen, call it like I see it. But even though you are giving your assets and your properties to the animal, I believe you still need to have a power of attorney for that animal because like they can't sign a legal document. So like let's say a window breaks and you have to pay a repairman. When you sign like, oh yes, I'll pay you on this day this much, the cat can't sign it. So Edgar would have to sign it. So even though technically the house and the bonds and the money is like beneficiary towards the cats, Edgar is the one who's in charge of it all.
Right.
And as long as he can justify spending the money with the cats, he can do whatever the hell he wants. Oh, the cats have been feeling really bad lately. Like they've just been listing around. So I'm going to take them to the country chateau. I think all that fresh air and all those mice will really help them. Like he could just do whatever he wants.
Right.
Like it's so funny because he's like, oh, like obviously the cats are going to make my life miserable. Like the cats are going to be like, Edgar, you can't spend this money on caviar. What are you doing? Because cats can do that,
Like they were completely in the dark about the whole will and everything.
Yeah,
like,
they didn't know. And they wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Duchess wouldn't have cared. To Duchess and the kittens, the thing that's most important is their master, is Madame Bonfamille. Like However, I will just say, like, damn, she couldn't have given Edgar like a better room. Like maybe if she treated Edgar better, he wouldn't immediately go to cat murder.
I noticed that.
Like you have this huge freaking mansion. I understand that this was 1910 and there had to be a level of separation between the people who lived in the house and the servants. I understand that. Upstairs, downstairs, down, Navy. We get that. But like you couldn't have made sure his roof didn't have a hole in it?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. There's layers to this.
Like she's an idiot, but so is he, and But like even so, it's clear that she treats him like well. She doesn't treat him badly. She doesn't abuse him as a butler, Her lawyer does. Her lawyer's terrible to Edgar.
Is he just senile or was he like that on purpose? Like
I think it's a little bit of both.
Both?
Like he obviously is coherent enough to write out a will, maybe. But he's definitely a little bit like old person crazy.
When they were going up the steps and he was like, let go of my cane. It just, I gotta say, I love how fluid the animation is.
Yeah, something I really like about this movie and a lot of the movies that were made around this time, like right at the beginning of the Disney Dark Ages, is sometimes you can see the brushstrokes. And like some people might consider that like sloppy, but I like it. I think it lends an air of like handmade quality to it. It lends an air of, hard work and like this is a thing that someone made,
Right.
So like, yes, the animation is very fluid in terms of how the characters move, but I just like that sometimes you can see like brushstrokes. I don't know, I just like that.
Adds a human factor.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like people worked on this, human people. And this was actually, if I'm remembering correctly, this was the last movie that Walt Disney oversaw before he passed away. So like I don't think he was like drawing anything, but he was like, looking over it and everything. So basically there are these cats. There's Duchess and her kittens Marie, Berlioz, and Toulouse. And they live in this mansion and they were Piano Cat before Piano Cat was even a thing. Like, it's so funny to like watch this movie in a modern context because you're like, man, people would pay so much money for that like weird Picasso-y print that Toulouse did. Like, like it's beautiful. It's so artistic. And the cats can play piano, which I can't do. That's more than I can do.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, is this something normal? Because no one ever reacts like, who's playing the piano? There's only us two in the house.
So basically Edgar overhears them making the will and he's like, okay, so I got to get rid of the cats. He doesn't kill them, which I guess, was nice. He just like tosses them somewhere, but he makes them like a sleeping potion and they should be dead. Like the amount of sleeping pills that he put in that and they're animals, like they should be dead.
Yeah, they should be.
Are you familiar with Binging with Babish? It's like a YouTube channel.
I know of it.
So he did an episode about creme de la Edgar, and it looks so delicious. I want to make it really bad. It's basically like hot chocolate, but it's hot vanilla and everything. And I'm like, ugh, one of these days I'm going to make it and dip my little Ritz cracker in it. Something else that I really like about this movie is the cats. Like all the cats in the movie are so sweet and so nice because I feel like media in general tends to paint cats as like bad or like they're villains cats, like James Bond villains have cats and like Lucifer and Cinderella, so cats are usually painted as like bad or the negative equivalent. So like dog's good, cat's bad. So I just like that this movie is like, no, cats are good and they're sweet and they love their owners. And I'm like, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Cats are so good. I love cats, man.
I mean, some people just view cats as they get a bad rep only
Yeah.
because sometimes they could be a little
Well, I mean,
annoying and scratch you up and
well, that's because I feel like people expect cats to act like dogs and they just don't. They're completely different animals with completely different temperaments. And you have to find a cat that's right for your behavior and attitude, because there are some cats that are so cuddly and so affectionate and so playful. They're a lot like dogs. And so those cats are perfect for some people, but then there are cats that are a little more standoffish, a little more aloof, and some people want that in a pet, you know. So I think you just have to find a cat that fits your lifestyle. Because there's definitely cats that are super, super affectionate and super like, let's play and run around all day, you know?
right.
And also it's just, you have to approach cats differently than dogs, you know? They have different, the way that they structure, I guess, their like lives in their head is different than how dogs structure their lives in their head. So you have to kind of approach them in a different way to dogs, you know. They view humans differently than dogs view humans, and you know, but yeah, oh man, I love cats. I want a cat so badly. Someday I will get a cat.
Yeah.
And I will name her Duchess because I'm basic as fuck.
It's gonna be white one too.
I mean, in all honesty, I actually want a black cat. I really, really like black cats, but I wouldn't say no to literally any color of cat. I don't know if I would want the breed of cat that they are supposed to be. They're supposed to be, I believe, Turkish Angora cats. I think I would want something a little bit less maintenance, just because their fur is like, you know, but yeah, oh gosh, I'll take any cat, honestly. I'll take one of those like hairless face cats at this point. They're weird looking, but I like them. Yeah. Okay. So, so Edgar takes the cats into the countryside where he's accosted by a couple of dogs. And something that I want to bring up. Okay. So the movie takes place in Paris, in France, right? Right. Duchess is the only one with a French accent.
Yeah.
Like the kittens, Edgar, the lawyer, I think Madam Thomas O'Malley, like Roquefort, they're all American accents, you know? And it isn't until you meet like the geese and I think the horse, they have British accents, right?
Right.
And then these dogs have Southern accents. How are they in Paris?
Yeah, that threw me for a loop too. Especially one of them is named Lafayette.
Yeah, they're named Lafayette Napoleon. Like,
so,
like it's so funny to me. Like, where did these dogs come from? Why are they in this random field and why are they Southern? It's so funny.
It's such a mixed matchup.
Like, Duchess is the only one with a French accent and they're in France.
Right.
Like, even the kittens don't have French accents. Yeah. So basically the dogs like chase Edgar and it's this fun little chase sequence and basically Duchess and the kittens wake up and they're in this like wooded area and they realize that they've been abandoned and Toulouse says Edgar did it and they're like, no, Edgar wouldn't do that, but Toulouse is right.
Right.
So then the next day, Thomas O'Malley appears on the scene and he kind of like sweet talks Duchess and flirts with her and everything. And like, honestly, relationship goals. Like Thomas O'Malley and Duchess are so sweet together and he's such a good guy. Like he really is. Like he offers to help them even though like he thought he was getting like a romantic like situation. He's like, oh, she has kids. Like, oh. But then he was like, you know what? I'm going to help this family because they're a good family and I should help them. And I'm like, yes.
And that's what caught me off guard because I'm used to someone coming in to help, but they really have a different motive.
Yeah.
But he was straight with them the entire time.
Yeah.
Like there were times, like even when he helped them get onto the truck.
Yeah.
He was ready to say, "All right,
bye.
good luck." Like,
yeah.
You know, he wasn't pay attention, fellas. He wasn't no 'cause he wasn't pushy. He
Yeah.
wasn't, oh, come on, be with me, just the kids, or you and the kids and we could live here, blah blah. Like he did mention that briefly, but he wasn't pushy about it. He was just
Yeah.
like, humans don't care about you, but Duchess is like, no, the madam, she really cares about us.
Yeah.
But no, Thomas is a good guy, and he knows when to back the fuck off.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
'Cause-
and he genuinely like wants to help them. Like he saves Marie multiple times when
Yeah.
she gets in trouble. And later on in the movie when Duchess is like, "Oh, I'd love to stay with you, but I can't." He understands, and he's like, "All right, I'll take you to Madam." Like he still helps her even though she denies him, even though he knows that she likes him, and everything. And also like he kind of gives up his bachelor carefree life to be with her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure, all that fancy shit is nothing to sniff at, but like, he's not like, oh man, I have to, eat perfect food all the time. Oh, how dare I, but he still gives up his lifestyle to be with Duchess and to be a father to her kittens,
Yeah.
He fully embraces that role, which I think is so great.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. Love it. Find you a man like Thomas O'Malley.
Yes.
A little rough around the edges, but he's a good guy.
If that's your type.
If that's your type, yeah. Something also kind of fun is, so Thomas O'Malley is voiced by Phil Harris, who has voiced a lot of characters in Disney movies before. He voiced Baloo in The Jungle Book, and he voiced Little John in Robin Hood. But what's so, I think, interesting, and also just speaks to his quality as an actor, is even though he does not change his voice for any of those characters, it's literally just, this is Phil Harris talking. It sounds different. Like Baloo does not sound like Thomas O'Malley, and Thomas O'Malley does not sound like Little John. Like they all sound different. And I don't know if it's just the inflection that he's choosing or just the fact that they're completely different characters. But like, even though, like I said, he's not changing his voice, it still sounds different, and I admire that a lot as an actor.
I definitely I think you're definitely on the nose to different inflections.
Yeah.
Cause with Thomas is a bit of a twang to it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Jungle Book, but I know
Baloo.
I know the character.
Yeah.
And with him, he from what I remember, from what I've seen, Baloo is really laid back.
Yep.
Thomas is also laid back, but in a different laid back.
It's a different way, yeah.
Right. So it's definitely the inflections.
Yeah. It's really, I think, great, and I love him. I love Phil Harris. I think he's such a fun like actor. Anyway, so they get on a truck and they're driving, and the guy who's driving the truck sees them in the back, how they're like drinking and eating the cream, which is terrible for cats. Don't feed your cats like cream or milk. Like that's bad for them, actually.
Right.
It's like not good for their digestive system. And he like kicks them out, and so they have to walk. Like,
quick question.
Yeah.
Do you know what Sacre Bleu means?
so Sacre Bleu, directly translated, it means like holy cheese, basically, because bleu is a type of cheese. Sacre is sacred, so like holy cheese. It's supposed to be the French equivalent of holy cow, like get it?
Okay.
Like, I really don't think that any French person really says Sacre Bleu. I don't think so. I think it's something that Americans think they say. Because I've never met a French person who says it. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. But like,
my sister and I years ago, we mentioned it to our parents. We are not French, we are Haitian, but
Yeah.
they're closely related. And they were just like, what is that?
Yeah.
It was like, what the fuck is that? Like,
yeah,
we don't know.
Sacre Bleu is basically the French version of like holy cow,
Yeah, but I don't think they really.
I don't know. I mean, so Thomas. Okay, so Thomas saves Marie when she falls off the truck, and then later he saves her when she falls off the train tracks. Like, bitch, you have claws. Hold on to that wood. Like, what are you doing? Like, listen, I love Marie. She's like one of my all-time favorite Disney characters. But like, damn, does she get in trouble a lot? Like, chill.
Even her brothers mentioned it. It was
Yeah.
like, you had to fall off the bridge.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, Marie, and she just.
Get it together. Get your life.
Yeah. I love Marie, man. I tell you, iconic lines. Ladies do not start fights, but they can finish them.
As soon as she said that, I was like, oh, Brielle's gonna quote that.
Yeah.
For the podcast.
I love it. Yeah, so they basically they're like on train tracks and the train comes, so they go underneath, but Marie falls into the water. So Thomas saves her because he's a good guy, and he ends up like going downstream, and that's when we meet the geese. Abigail and Amelia Gabble, and they're hilarious and I love them. And they're oh so British because they see Thomas and they assume that he's swimming and they go, oh, well, we should correct him because that's the British way. We wouldn't be British if we didn't tell people how to live their lives.
Is that like an actual thing or?
I mean, listen, I don't want to get anybody mad at me. I don't want to like, make a stereotype, but like considering that Britain colonized over half the world, I think it's fair to say that Britain's like telling people what to do.
All right, fair enough.
Also, just because British people, not that they're like proper all the time, but British people definitely believe that there is a way to do everything. Like there's a proper way to do everything, Not necessarily that they are like proper hoity-toity all the time, but just there's a way to do something and you have to do it that way. So
Gotcha.
that's a very British thing. And so they almost drown him, and thankfully he doesn't drown. And it's so funny because when they meet the rest of the family, like Duchess and the kittens, they're like, "Oh, Duchess, your husband is so nice and very handsome," and she's like, "Well, he's not my husband," and they're like, "Oh," and they immediately are like, "Well, he's ugly and he's stupid and he's got a crooked jaw." Like they immediately changed their tune.
Which I thought was hilarious because it runs with the theme, not in the movie, but in life, where people say, "Oh, people only want me when I'm in a relationship, but when I'm not in a relationship, no one hits my line or anything like that." I thought that's what they were doing there.
Oh no, I think it was more like a man and a woman really like shouldn't be close like that if they're not married.
Okay.
I think that was more the idea that they thought that Thomas was like, a roue and a cad and trying to like, trick Duchess or like have his way with her and then leave. Like that's what they thought, And she's like, no, he's just my friend. Like he's a good friend. He's helping us. And something I love actually is like, I love how Thomas just like connects with the kittens so easily. Like he saves Marie all those times and he, calls Toulouse like Tiger and he like encourages him to like embrace his little like alley cat self, know? They're going to Paris to get back to the house and the geese are like, "Oh, we'll go with you." And Thomas is like, "Ugh." I love when Thomas is like, "Hiya, chicks," and they start laughing and they're like, "We're not chickens, we're geese." And then he says, "No, and I thought you were swans." And the look that Duchess gives him is so funny. And they don't even notice, they're just laughing, they're just flattered,
It's like, "Oh, how kind, how silly."
So they walk into the city waddling the whole way. I love that. So like Duchess is a rich person basically, and she's very like, and she grew up that way, but she's so kind and understanding and she's not spoiled in any way. And I just love that. Like the kittens aren't spoiled, like because like the like Berlioz is like, "Mama, do we have to walk like they do?" And she's like, "Of course we do. They're helping us. We have to walk like they because they said we should." And she, is so embracing of Thomas's friends and his apartment and everything. Like I just love that even though she's like rich and kind of like high class, that she doesn't look down on anybody, and she's so kind to everyone, and the kittens are so kind to everyone. Like she makes them say thank you to Frou Frou the horse. Like she's a good mom.
Yes.
She's a good person.
That's how you're supposed to be. That's how you're supposed to raise your children.
Yeah.
Oh
she doesn't let anyone's like economic status or where they're from tell her how to treat them.
Yeah.
She treats everyone with kindness and friendliness, and I like that.
So progressive.
Yeah.
Too bad it's all fiction.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
Yeah. So they get to Paris basically, and they meet Uncle Waldo. Who is Amelia and Abigail's uncle. That's why they were in Paris, to visit him. And he is absolutely marinated in white wine because he was supposed to be cooked as dinner and he escaped. And I just love that they're all just enjoying this. They're all just laughing at him. Like, nobody's making him, no one's like, saying like, oh, how dare he be drunk? Like, that's so inappropriate. Like, oh, that's what a bad example. They're all just laughing because it's funny. Like,
Also, no one really mentions that he was about to get. I mean, he mentions it that he
Yeah.
was on the menu, but
Yeah.
after that, it's like, oh, he almost got eaten. Hilarious. He was almost cooked.
Yeah, they kind of like let it go for a while.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then at the same time, Edgar realizes that when he like dropped off the cats, basically, when the dogs chased him, he lost his umbrella and his hat, and he's afraid that that will implicate him. So he goes back to the farm to like get those items back. And I just want to say, like, yes, the hat and the umbrella could possibly implicate him. I mean, DNA testing wasn't a thing in 1910, so I don't know what they would have done if they found a hair fiber. Maybe he had his name literally in the hat, like belongs to Edgar. But I feel like the more incriminating piece of evidence is the giant sidecar from his motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like, it has, like, it's 1910s Paris. I can't imagine that many people have motorcycles,
Right.
Like, it's rare enough that, like, Georges the lawyer has a car in 1910. But I can't imagine that, like, there are millions and millions of motorcycles all over Paris. And so I'm sure if they looked at the sidecar and said, oh, this is a not Ford, but this is a Ford sidecar. Let's just see who bought a motorcycle with a sidecar. They could narrow it down. Like, and who has a motorcycle also lives in a house with cats. Like,
Right. I mean, he ended up taking it at the end.
the sidecar.
But
yeah.
he wasn't thinking about
Yeah.
it. Like, he was just thinking about the hat and the umbrella.
Yeah, the umbrella. Yeah.
I love the whole thing of when he's walking, his shoes are still squeaky,
Yeah.
and Napoleon's just like, he describes it perfectly. It's
Yeah,
like
he
there's
has a
hole
great
in
sense
it.
of hearing.
And he describes it so well. And then when Lafayette asks what color they are, he goes black. How so? It's like, really? Like, you described everything, but like the color you can't guess.
Yeah. I also love that he's like, I'm the leader. I'll say what it is. It was a little cricket bug.
And just leave it at that.
Yeah. They're funny. I think the fact that they are Southern, I think, was like a conscious choice to make it a little funnier.
Mhm.
Also, the voice actors are like famous actors that like are known for their like strong accent. So that would have been, for people in the 70s watching the movie, that would have been like a fun little like, oh, it's that guy,
Okay.
Yeah, so he gets the stuff back and no one knows that Edgar did it. The police are baffled, and,
Right.
and the only one who kind of like knows and is trying to do something is Roquefort, the little mouse. He's trying. You gotta love him. He's trying.
He's the same voice as Winnie the Pooh, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's Sterling something. Something Sterling. Sterling something. Also the voice of Kaa from Jungle Book. The snake.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Disney, it wasn't until very recently that Disney kind of started to have more famous people do the voices specifically for their name.
Mhm.
In a lot of old Disney movies, you will hear the same voices kind of over and over again because they had like a big pool of people that they would just pick from, and like even with Duchess, that's Ava Gabor. She played Bianca in The Rescuers. So I mean, like, Disney had no issue with like recycling voices, And like I said, it wasn't until pretty recently that they were like, well, we got to get famous people to voice our characters, which is a good or a bad thing depending on how you feel.
Depending, yeah.
So they're walking through Paris and they get to Thomas's apartment and he's like, oh, it'll be quiet. The kids can sleep. Oh, there's a band there. And it's Scat Cat and all of his friends, and they're just playing jazz music. And I love it.
I love the whole scene. I love the lingo, like, lay some skin on me
Yep.
and all that. I was, yeah.
Nice jazz. Yeah. And like, It's such a good song. Everybody Wants to Be a Cat is such a good song because the movie doesn't really have a lot of music in it. It has scales and arpeggios, and then Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, and that's it.
Yep.
So this is such a fun song. It's so good. And I love that all of his friends are like, "Oh, you have a friend and she has kids. Great. We'll party with all of you." Like, and they just accept them into their fold and everything. And and they sing the song, and it's a great song, and we have to talk about it. So it's interesting. Did you watch this movie on Disney Plus, or did you find it somewhere else?
I rented it on Apple TV.
Okay. So on Disney Plus, when you press play, a little placard comes up basically and says, "Hey, so this movie has some racist shit in it. We know it's bad, and you know it's bad, and we just want to acknowledge it and be like, hey, it was a different time. It doesn't make it okay, but if we took it out of the movie, that would be hiding it. That would be as if we were trying to erase what we've done, and we don't want to do that. So we just want to acknowledge, we know it was messed up, but we're keeping the movie as it is because we can't go back and erase it,
Right.
On one hand, I really appreciate that. I think that it's a really good thing to do, and they're not the only one to do it. Warner Brothers does it too with a lot of their cartoons from the 40s. I think it is a really good thing to do because, obviously, yes, they can't go back in time and take out the Siamese cat. They can't do that. So all they can do is just acknowledge that they made a mistake and say, in the future, we will do better, which I appreciate. I really do. I don't want people to think that I don't appreciate it. But why did you do it in the first place? It was 1970.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't it was 1940 where people didn't realize, white people didn't realize that making fun of Asian people was wrong. It was the 70s. We knew that by then. We knew
it, but only the hippies cared. If you really think about it.
I mean, maybe.
Big business still didn't care.
Yeah. But also I just don't understand what the point was.
Right, to add that in.
To add that. Because, okay, if every other cat got a verse, maybe I could understand why they gave the Siamese cat a verse. Because it's the Russian cat, the Italian cat, the English cat, they all sang a verse about them. But he's the only one that sings, which means someone said, hey, you know what we should do in this song? We should have a totally unnecessary verse. It doesn't add anything to the song. It's not about the song. It's literally nonsense words. And we should have the Siamese cat sing it. That's someone said that. A grown adult said that. And they were like, it's fine. No one will care. It just baffles me. Because they could have just not done that. And it would have been fine. The movie would not have suffered for the lack of Asian stereotypes. And it's just, and again, it's such a small, insignificant part. I don't know why they did it. Except to be hey, just in case anybody forgot, we're racist.
I mean, yeah, like you said, it was 1970.
But I don't think that's an excuse.
No,
people knew that was not okay.
I mean, we know a lot of things are not okay, especially today, but we still do dumb shit.
I mean, yeah, but did no one in that writer's room say, or we could just not do that?
I'm pretty sure, but they were probably the minority.
Yeah.
Because you got a whole bunch of white guys laughing at it. And then you got that.
And it's not even a good joke. Okay, yeah. I don't like racial humor. I mean, it's very, I think there's a very specific way that you have to do it to make it actually funny and not offensive. So I don't really like racial humor. But even if I did, it's not a good joke. He's just literally saying nonsense words about Chinese food, and he's playing the piano with chopsticks. That's not even funny though. Because at least if it was funny, I could maybe be okay, racist but funny. But it's not even funny. And I just this is getting a little personal, but I just want to watch a movie and not have to deal with that and not have to see that. Like, I understand that I have a lot of privilege in that most of the movies I watch will not be offensive towards me. There are plenty that are, but but I just want to watch a movie and have it be a favorite movie of mine and not have to deal with Asian racist stereotypes. Like, I feel like it's so annoying because every time I tell someone, oh, I really love the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's, I have to qualify it by saying, oh, but yeah, that whole Mickey Rooney thing is very racist. And I'm like, ugh, could have been a perfect movie, but, and that movie came out before. Anyway, it's racist. It makes no sense. Wait, let's move on. Let's just move on. I'm sorry. It just bothers me because I hate the fact that, like, one of my favorite movies, like, I have to have this little qualifying asterisk next to it when I say it's my favorite. Not that I don't think anybody, when I tell them, oh, I love the Aristocats, it's like, oh, Brielle hates Asian people. I don't think they think that, but
Yeah, it's just a sign of the times, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's an excuse.
I mean, it still happens today.
Yeah, I know. It's an excuse, though.
Well, now is no longer an excuse because it's like, it's 2021. Why are you still doing that?
Yeah.
Now it's just, people they just don't care.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, anyway, so, yeah. Also, something completely separate that I want to mention is the English cat is not appropriate for the time period at all. Like, the English cat has like the fringy haircut and like beads with the round glasses. He looks like a hippie, like a 60s 70s English hippie, like almost that like Beatlemania kind of thing.
Right.
The movie takes place in 1910. Like, he should not look like that.
Unless he's from the future.
Yeah, I realized that watching it. I was like, oh, he's not at all in the right time period for his dress. Yeah, so they have a party, they sing and dance, it's great. For those of you who know the movie Robin Hood, when Duchess and Thomas are dancing and their like paws are next to each other, as well as when like Thomas is dancing around Duchess, Disney recycled that animation for Robin Hood. And later in Robin Hood, when there's a scene where everybody's dancing, Maid Marian and Robin Hood dance like Duchess and Thomas.
No.
Yeah, they recycled the animation cells.
That's a way to save money.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was the Disney Dark Ages. They had to.
No, I mean. Can we talk about Duchess' little moment that she had there with the harp? I was like, all right.
Listen, she is a confident and attractive woman. She knows what she's doing.
She said, kids, I'm about to show you why you here today. Amen.
Oh my God.
I could. That's all I could think about. It's like, your children are there. It's like not even. And let me let me back up my claims, or like protect my claims by saying, just because you're a mother, you can't be sexy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if I ever do become a father, I don't want my kids knowing how they ended up in this life and what I had to do and what I had to say. I'll explain to them the birds and the bees, but I'm not gonna give them specifics. Like, yeah, your mom and I, it was just a heavy night, because she was and it's good on her, because she was just really alluring, and then you got all the cast like, oh, that type of moment. Yeah, I don't know.
Listen, she's a single mom. She's got to do what she's got to do to get those men. Also, I think it's just the very nature of like Ava Gabor being her voice, because Ava Gabor, I happen to think, was a very, very sexy, attractive woman. So, like, that's so funny. You're so funny.
I'm not against it.
Yeah. So, basically, the cats party so hard that they literally break the floor and they fall through like 4 levels.
Yeah.
And they all survive. They fall through 4 levels and they just keep on dancing in the street. They're like,
Yeah, and it's just what took. So they got 5 lives left, basically.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, basically. Something oh, speaking of that, something I want to like bring up is like everybody mentions that like cats have 9 lives in this movie. People don't believe that. Like, yeah, that's like a fun like little thing to say,
Hmm.
but I'm pretty sure by the time that the movie takes place, no one believed, like legitimately believed that cats had 9 lives.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like the fact that Edgar thinks that they do is just he's so stupid.
So it's gonna take decades for me to.
Yeah, like it's so stupid. Like I don't think anybody believed that cats actually had 9 lives. Um anyway, so Duchess tucks the kittens into bed and they're very, very cute. When Marie's all like, everybody wants to be a cat.
Oh, they all tucked
Oh
in.
yeah. And then her and Thomas go out and sit on the like basically like a balcony. And they basically talk about how Thomas is like, I wish you could stay. I want you to stay. Like, I really like you. And I love your kids. They're so great, which I think is so wonderful. Like you were saying, like he's a rare breed
Yeah.
because he not only really likes Duchess, but he also like enjoys being around her kids and like, you know, being almost like a fatherly figure. And, you know, him and Duchess basically are like, we both like each other, but I have to go home to Madam and I have to be with her. She needs us, you know? And he accepts it and he's like, all right, well, you know, I'll help you, you know, get there. I love that all the kittens are like, aw, well, we almost had a father. Like,
Yeah.
aw. So they get back to the fancy part of Paris and basically Thomas says goodbye. They go in the house. Roquefort is like, no, don't come in, don't come in. And the cats are like, oh, he's so excited to see us. And they get in and they immediately get like shoved into a bag and like put into a crate by Edgar, who's like sending them to Timbuktu. Okay.
That seemed to be like the common trope back in the day.
Yeah, sending
Like,
them to Timbuktu.
Yeah.
Probably just because it was like, number one, kind of a funny sounding name, and also it was just very, very far away because Timbuktu was all the way in like
Africa, I think.
Another reason that it works is because from what they were saying, Timbuktu was like colonized by France, so it would have still been like he would have known it. Anyway, so Thomas goes to save them and he tells Roquefort like, "Oh, get Scat Cat and the other cats," and he's like, "But I'm a mouse. They're gonna kill me."
Which
And
is
he-
right.
Yeah, and he gets to them and they're like, "Oh, what's the guy's name that told you to find us?" And he says all the wrong names. But I just want to point out, he says O'Grady, oh something. Like, how many cats with oh something names do these cats know that they're like, "Oh, he's probably talking about O'Malley." Like, I mean,
I'm pretty sure they weren't thinking about that. It was like, hey, dinner.
like, you know,
Lunch.
I mean, if someone was like talking to me, they're like, "Oh, your friend told me something," and I said, "Oh, what's their name?" And they said, "Oh, it was George something, Gary something, Jeff something." I'd be like, "Well, I only know one person whose name begins with a G. It must be Guerlain."
I mean, they're in the streets. Right, saying like, who's this sketchy little character that I just want to eat? You know, you can't out here in the streets. You can't be so trusting.
Trusting.
Yeah. So
But he does say O'Malley, so they offer to help him.
it's like, oh shit! Why did you say so, bro?
Yeah. And so they rush back to the fancy house. I love the guy. He's like drinking and he sees the mouse chasing the cats and he's like, "Well, that's enough for me."
Real quick, I liked before Edgar grabbed the cats, when he's just, because you mentioned drinking, when he's just drinking and he's like, la la la, I'm gonna get some money, even though the madam's still alive.
Yeah,
so
she's still in the house. I don't know what he thinks he's doing.
if anything, he should have killed her, but whatever.
Yeah.
And he pops open the champagne or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and when it hits what's his name?
Roquefort.
Rofer, the way he's just like, he got me. I love
I
that.
love that too. Yeah. Oh,
And-
you got me.
And also when he's explaining to Thomas what's happening, he's like, "The cat's in trouble. Dutchers. The butler did it." I was like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
The butler always does it.
Yeah, yeah. And then I love Toulouse, like, I told you it was Edgar. Aw, shut up, Toulouse.
Always the butler.
Yeah. So basically all the cats come to the rescue and they're all fighting and the horse gets involved and they're like literally like beating up Edgar. Like he's gonna have some like horseshoe shaped prints on his butt. And
I have a lot to say about that.
what?
I have a lot to say about that, but continue.
No, say what you're gonna say. We're talking about it.
No, well, I'm gonna get to the part when he ends up in the.
Okay, so yeah, so they're like beating him up, and Roquefort is like trying to do the lock, and I love that he goes quiet, and they all just freeze, and they're like, "Oh right, sorry, he's trying to do something." Like he's trying to open the safe that Edgar doesn't want him to open, but he's like, "Oh, let me freeze," you know?
Like of all the times.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's
It
so
is.
funny. So basically, the cats get out, and the horse Frou Frou and Scat Cat and all the other cats are able to put Edgar in the trunk and like send him to Timbuktu. So he's gone, and the cats are safe. Now, what did you want to say?
He's dead.
He's not
He
dead.
is dead. First of all, do you know how strong a horse kick is?
I know. He should be bleeding like profusely from his butt.
His whole pelvis is broken. It disintegrated. It is done. And he was trapped in the horse
The
thing.
horse thing, yeah.
Bro, he was trapped and he got kicked like that.
Yeah.
Not only if his pelvis is done, he at least shattered 3 spinal discs at least.
Kind of the rib or something.
Bro, and he landed flat into the trunk, no air.
Well, okay. I don't think so. The trunk did not lock when they put it in the trunk. So I'm sure if he was like, hey, let me out, those guys would have let him out. Like, I'm sure the guys driving the truck would have heard him screaming. Yeah. So I don't think he's dead, like.
Even if 15 minutes into the ride, say that they heard something, even though I believe he wouldn't be able to speak because he
So much pain.
So much pain. He got kicked by a horse while trapped in something. Like, where's the scientifically? Where's the force going to go? It is
Yeah.
stuck, so it's just
Yeah.
gonna go.
All of his body, yeah.
Nah, he is in a wheelchair. If he survived, he's in a wheelchair. He is crippled from the neck down. No.
Oh, man.
He is done. But yeah.
I mean, it's a Disney movie, so no one suffers like that. But I mean, he's gone for good. That's all that matters.
Right.
He's gone for good. Madam's like, oh, if only he knew about the will, he probably wouldn't have left. Like, bitch, your will was the whole reason this happened.
Right.
Because you wanted to give your money to a bunch of freaking cats. Instead of like charity, I don't know. Like, you're an opera singer. Maybe give some back to the community.
Is that what she was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's supposed to be like an opera singer because she mentions Carmen, which is an opera.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, Thomas basically joins the family.
Yes.
And he's all fancy now. And Madam basically accepts him with no issues. The kittens love him, Duchess loves him, and she turns the bottom half of her house into like a cat sanctuary, which is actually kind of cool. Like, again, way before anybody ever really thought of doing that, she was like, I love cats so much and there are so many alley cats, let me set up a sanctuary for them, which is like really great. She's a good person, honestly, even though she's kind of stupid. She's a good person.
Yeah.
And everything is great,
Yep. The end.
Yeah. Wait, I'm the leader. I'll say when it's the end. It's the end.
And that was it.
Yeah.
I forgot that movies used to end like that. No,
Yeah.
no end credits.
Yeah.
There wasn't any music at the end either. It was
Well,
just,
yeah, because the credits were all in the beginning when Marie Chevalier sang the song, the
you're
Aristocats
right.
song.
Yes, that is true.
So they don't really need credits at the end.
Huh. Should they bring that back? Doing credits in the beginning.
I mean, they kind of do sometimes. They don't do like full credits because that would really take too long. I feel like just with the way that we make movies today, there's so many more people involved, especially live action movies, that you couldn't put all the credits in the beginning because it would just be ridiculous.
Right.
all the people that you have to mention. But I feel like I would have no issue if movies kind of brought back opening credits. I think it's kind of cool sometimes,
Yeah.
you know?
All right. But overall, this was I like the film.
Yeah,
I
I do
enjoyed it.
too. It's like I said, it's like my favorite Disney movie.
Mm.
Favorite. I love it so much. Marie is one of my favorite characters. Something really cool is actually like a couple of years ago when it was, I believe, the 25th anniversary of the movie. They released a CD with all of the instrumentals, all of the songs, as well as like songs that were originally cut and stuff. So that's really cool because I learned a lot more about the movie. Like the movie was originally supposed to have a maid character that like worked with Edgar and was like his partner in crime basically. And they had 2 songs, and like Madam was supposed to have a song. And they kind of like cut those for time, and they cut that plot of like the secondary maid character. So it's just really interesting, to see like how the movie like evolved and changed,
I love that.
Yeah.
See, it.
And they have it for a few Disney movies. Like they did it for Little Mermaid. I believe they did it for Jungle Book as well. You could look it up. It's like special anniversary editions where they have like all the cool like extra stuff.
I could go on a tangent, but I won't. So I'll just say, can we just normalize that? Just putting out instrumentals and behind the scenes stuff. I just feel like everyone is just so secretive with their work, and
Yeah.
they don't share. People love behind the scenes stuff.
Oh my gosh, yes.
People love it, but we don't
do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to ever say like, if you want an example of how much people love behind the scenes, just talk about Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings had so much behind the scenes content. Like it fills up like 4 DVDs just of behind the scenes content, and I have watched every single minute of it. It is so good. It's like people like, watch commentary over and over and over again. Like people love bloopers, and they love behind the scenes, and they love the makings of, and I think getting to kind of see the process of movie making, I think is something people really like.
Yeah.
And so even though like some of these songs like were never in the movie and were cut really early, it's so fun to listen to and be like, oh, what the movie could have been,
Honestly.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm glad that you liked it.
Yes.
It makes me really happy. Anything else that you want to say?
No. Like it was just a really good. I can't rave enough about the animation.
Yeah.
It's just so lively and it's not perfect.
No, it's
like you
not
said,
perfect. Like
but,
yeah.
Yeah, I just miss that type of feel.
Yeah, that type of animation. I mean, it's very nostalgic, you know. And I appreciate that, And this movie, I watch this movie all the time. Like whenever I'm feeling a little sad or kind of bleh, I put on this movie and it always makes me happy.
No.
It just always makes me happy.
I get that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, thank you all for listening, for watching, for supporting us. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. We appreciate all of you, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes.
And we will see you next week.
See ya. Au revoir.
Au revoir.